Sandy Griffin had 12 brothers and sisters, and she was stuck right in the middle. As number 6, she felt she wasn't seen as an individual, and her achievements weren't really celebrated by her family. Consequently, she really didn't feel like she was loved.
I would go out thinking, you know what, I'm just not good enough because I'm who I am.
At an early age, Sandy began to fill her emotional emptiness with food. It all started when she and her sister inherited the family paper route.
We would buy candy bars. They were 6 for a quarter. And her and I would either buy 6 or 12 each. Sometimes we would eat them by the time we got to the paper place, and we would deliver the papers. And sometimes stop at another place and get cream puffs and eat those. And sometimes we would be so full, we would run up and down the hills of snow trying to get our appetite back.
Sandy's love of food quickly became a secret addiction.
I think I was probably 11 or 12 when I started hiding it. But when I got older, my younger sister, I started her with the eating. And I would take her out and we would buy bakery things. And I would show her how to hide it with the scarves and mittens that were up on a shelf.
This childhood behavior turned into an adult life of compulsive overeating.
I got up to 210 pounds, but I probably should have weighed 400 pounds realistically for what I ate. It's a horrible, horrible place to be because it's not who you are. You know, you're not defined by how you look, and you let it define you, and you don't thrive because you feel you don't deserve it because of your weight.
Sandy just couldn't stop. She continued to eat around the clock.
When I would get done with work, I would drive home a lot of times, and I would think, oh, you know what? I should eat. And it could be 1 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't want them to know that it was just for me, so I could order maybe 8, 10 hamburgers, but I'd have to order 8 or 10 fries so that they'd think it was for 8 or 10 people. And I would eat that. It could be 1:30 in the morning. And even as I was doing that, I would think, I'm so tired of this.
In desperation, Sandy tried all the fad diets.
When I was 21, I went on, it was called the Last Chance Diet. I didn't eat for 8.5 weeks. I drank 3 tablespoons of liquid protein. I chewed 3 pieces of sugar-free gum a day. And I drank a lot of liquids. And I did it through a doctor, and 38 people died from it while I was on it. But I knew better. But I was so tired of being fat, and I used to think, you know what, if I was thin, I would really like myself, and everybody else would too, not realizing people liked me anyway. I just didn't like myself. And I lost 70 pounds in 8.5 weeks.
For 21 years, Sandy continued to gain and lose weight. A failed marriage and 3 children later, Sandy found herself home alone, looking for a job.
And all of a sudden God said, go get a Bible. And I thought, it's easy for you to say. I don't even know if I have one. But he said, open it up. And I opened it up. And I opened it to 1 Corinthians 1:8. And he said that I would be strong. And I remember the word strong. And I remember I was walking around going, why am I so weak? Why am I so weak? And then I saw the word strong. And it was like it wiped out weak. I didn't know that you could give your life to Christ. I had never heard any of that. I knew at that point that something had happened. I mean, from that minute on, it was like life was never the same. It was like, I'm strong. I am not weak. I'm not. And it was like it wiped out all the weakness that I'd had my whole life. It was like all of a sudden I understood that I could get to know God instead of just know about Him.
Right then, Sandy prayed for salvation, and she immediately realized that what she'd been looking for in food, she'd found in Christ. As her insatiable appetite disappeared, Sandy gradually lost weight over time, and with Christ, she's kept it off.
My theory is that we have 2 stomachs. We have a stomach for food and we have a stomach for God. It's a matter of replacing the food with God. It's like feeling full, eating and feeling satisfied and going, you know, praying before a meal, thanking Him for it, realizing where it comes from. But even before you go to a meal, you've gotten your daily bread.
Today, Sandy is an author, a life coach, motivational speaker, and a woman who uses her story to touch lives.
If I had one thing that I could tell people, I would tell them to draw from God and to start to realize that food is not food, that you're hungry and you think you're physically hungry. Look at what the source is and go back to find out where it started from and start realizing. I would tell people, find out what your gifts are. Find out who you are and who you were created in God. And when you take that, say, now God, what do you want me to do with that? And from there, you will find out who you are.